Okay, new setup, right? I hope you can tell the camera difference. To be honest, I'm taking a look and the camera seems just a little bit more high def than my previous webcam that I bought for like $100, and this camera was $1,000. So for this tiny bit of difference, I almost don't think it's worth it, but at the same time, it is better. So what can I really say? We'll use it for now. Another thing is the camera's over there now. So before I used to look right at the camera because it's right on top of my laptop. But now I have to look over here if I want to make any eye contact. And I mean, I guess I could put it like behind my laptop. But the thing is, I have this other monitor there. So I'm still figuring out how I want to place the placement of the camera. Maybe this is good. Maybe this can be like some sort of, I'm looking far away. I'm not making eye contact with you guys. I've seen some other podcasters do this. In fact, many podcasters don't really look directly at the camera. Many do, but many don't. But oftentimes the ones who don't, they're looking at someone else. And in this case, I'm looking at myself on the computer here. So there's that. New camera. Same mic though. But we are upgrading slowly, okay? And maybe this will be the position of the, camera placement for now on. Who knows? Couple things. What's new about me? In that last video I just made, right? I was on the phone with this woman at my job who, if you haven't seen it, go watch the last video where she was kind of chatty. I wasn't really getting the answer I needed for work because I'm the one that's starting her file and everything. I needed to get some questions from her, but she was just saying anything in the world rather than the answer that I needed. Call got kind of hostile at the end, and so I disconnected. If you watch the video, you will know that she called back, complained, and my supervisor had to talk to me, right? Turns out there was a little bit more to that. I was supposed to be doing some mentoring, right, for some new hires, and all of a sudden I'm not a mentor anymore. And I said, what's going on? No one even told me anything. And I had to basically ask that supervisor again what happened. And she said, hey, she was like, I just had to tell the other people, the people in charge of the mentoring, I have to pull Tony off to have a conversation with him. She was like, I didn't realize they were going to pull you off mentoring completely. So it's kind of a messy situation. I don't, but all of it got me to think that, how much of myself should I defend? What I mean by that is, I think when I was growing up, right, and I was growing up in Canada, I had to learn the language. Sometimes when, because people get it wrong, right? If some teacher thinks I did something bad, I didn't really defend myself. There was times when I didn't know the language, so I couldn't defend myself. And I think that sort of that hobby of not being able to defend myself or not defending myself kind of carried on as I got older. Or even when I was growing up and my dad would be like lecturing me or something, like he would never ask me like my point of view. He would just assume and lecture at me. And so how much I had to make a decision right here and there, because here I was, some caller complained about me, even though they were the ones that got confrontational. And as a result, I lost my chance to gain mentorship experience, mentoring others, I had to make a decision on defending myself. I had to make a decision and saying, hey, you know what? Like, it was a confrontational call. I'm not completely at blame. Maybe I could have learned to neutralize the call a little bit better. Maybe I could have had better customer experience, but it wasn't like I flipped out and I did anything bad with the caller. Like it was like a bad call, more so on the caller side, I would say. And I had to defend myself. And I had to make that decision to not let this thing happen to me. I had to make that decision to not just be like, oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, it was a bad call and I could get better. Yeah, it's okay. You take away the mentorship, whatever you see fit. Like, no, I had to stand up and defend myself, And so I did. And I reached out to that supervisor and I said, hey, what's going on? Why am I not mentoring? Just because of that bad call? And then she had to say, oh my God, I miscommunicated. I was just trying to pull you off, for that one day to talk to you about this. I didn't realize they would take you off mentoring completely. Let me go talk to them. Just a bunch of, unnecessary, developments, and that whole experience just got me thinking that if I don't defend myself, things could just happen, right? I had this like initial inkling of a feeling like, oh, should I not make a hubbub? Like I don't want to be a Karen, I want to be a team player. But at the same time, like, you got to defend yourself. Those Karens out there, maybe we were wrong about the Karens. Maybe the Karens had something right. No, they don't. But the Karens in some way, in some way, I can respect the Karen. And what that way is that they at least look out for themselves. Some people, maybe they're not a Karen, but you notice that they don't look out for themselves. You don't want to be that person either. I don't want to be that person. I want to be someone that when something happens and they need to defend themselves, whether physically or like, explain to people, hey, well, I didn't fucking do anything wrong, that I want to be that person. So, I had to put my foot down and had to be like, how can you guys take away my mentoring just after, some crazy caller complains, And what really led me to do it, I think, was that I didn't want to, if I ever have kids, right? I didn't want my kids to go on and I don't defend them. Because if some news of that they got in trouble comes and I just listen to other people, I don't listen to what my kid is saying, I don't want to be that. I don't want to let my kids down. I don't want to just be like, it's okay, put your head down. We're going to take this L. No, we're not going to take this L. If it's not our L, we're not going to take this L, kids, future kids. All right. I didn't want to be that person, or even if I have a girlfriend, or even if I have friends or something, and I know something's not their fault, but they're getting the shit for it. No, we're not going to take this L. I didn't want to let that happen. So I have to start building up habits of not letting injustice happen to me. I just have to build up good habits, and it does take one step at a time. Maybe you grew up kind of fucked, no one stood up for you, right? Or it could be a completely different issue. Like, you didn't have the best confidence when you grew up. Maybe you got dealt like bad hands in your looks, right? And kids are very judgmental about the looks, or very shallow about the looks. They'll let you know if you're ugly, right? And so you didn't have the best confidence, whether you're a girl, you're a guy. And so you let that happen to you into your 20s, right? Or your 30s. And maybe you cleaned up, you're better looking, you grew into your looks, but you still carry that that like wound or that trauma with you. No, you gotta, take the step, one step at a time, make better decisions. Wait, this person hasn't replied to me in 3 hours. Is it because they're busy or is it because I'm ugly? Maybe you have to start thinking more positively, less influenced by previous experiences. And just like this thing where maybe when I was in grade 2 and I just came to Canada and I didn't know how to speak English and some teacher accused me of pushing another kid, I didn't have the proper words to explain myself. I know did it. I know do it, Mrs. Donegan. And they were like, huh? I can't hear you. I don't understand you. And I'm like, I know did it. Maybe that now that I'm older and I can defend myself, I will defend myself. Life is just such a growing experience, like a lot of times, like you think that you can just coast, right? Maybe you don't, but I bet you do. But I do. A lot of times when things get good for like a month or 2 or 3 months straight, right? Maybe you're earning good at your job. Maybe you're hanging out with friends, your connections are good, right? Like, people are laughing at your jokes. I don't know. You order takeout. They always come cooked nicely. No mess up. Your fries aren't overcooked when you get them. You talk to your family. Everybody's happy. Things seem good, right? And you start thinking to yourself like, oh, maybe life is good, right? Then life hits you with something, whatever it may be. I am now learning that life is never going to be perfect. Even if you never travel to like third world countries, okay, you just stay in North America or you stay in Western Europe, okay, and you stay in the nice areas, right? Oh, I'm not going to get pickpocketed, right? Maybe you're a girl, you're like, I always have friends around me. I'm not going to get raped, right? Or if you're a guy, I'm starting to learn MMA and I'm very big now. No one's going to pick a fight with me, right? You think you got life settled. And that's what we try to do, right? We try to work jobs. We try to get into these relationships just so like life could be good, right? So we can coast a little bit, right? But something will happen because you just don't expect everything. If you do expect everything, and on a certain level you should, but you shouldn't be like, maybe those people who have their own bunkers, waiting for the apocalypse to happen. Maybe that's a little too far, but you don't want to be on the other end either where you just coast through life. Something will happen. Maybe an unexpected pregnancy, right? Who knows, maybe you had a vasectomy, okay? You go around, having hookups, you explain to the girls, hey, I had a vasectomy. We don't need to use a condom, right? And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. And then just you had that one little sperm that hid in the back door right beside your urinary tract, right? He's like, I'm going to be born, motherfucker, whether you like it or not, right? Maybe not this load, but the next. And you're 3 months into your vasectomy, right? You're having casual hookups, getting strange, right? And that motherfucker's like, now tonight's the night. The alarm is sounding and, the body's like, we're about to shoot this load, right? And there's a bunch of like empty carts, empty planes, right? Planes with no drivers in them, right? That's about to go out. And this little sperm hops into one of the Black Hawks, right? He's like, he doesn't know. And you shoot it out into this strange woman's pussy. And this one sperm, he's like, I've been training. He swims hard. I've been training for 5 months for this, right? And he swims in that woman's egg, right? And the woman sends you a text like, I'm pregnant. I thought you said you had a vasectomy. And you're like, I did have a vasectomy. And boom. An obstacle happens, right? So these obstacles happen and you got to just, handle them as they come. Life, you try to get it to where you can coast, right? You try to, right? Maybe you're 70 years old, your kids are grown up, you and the wife, you're like, honey, let's buy this vineyard out in the country, we'll grow our own grapes, we'll We'll cook our own meals. We'll grow our own potatoes. We can self-sustain, right? And your wife is like, oh, that's such a good idea, honey. Let's do it, right? And then the first night there, you guys get murdered by strangers. These things happen, and your sons and daughters, they're like, oh, our parents are doing so good. And, we're going to college, the siblings are high-fiving each other, right? And then they get the news that their parents are murdered. So these things happen, And so when they happen, it's up to you to determine how you handle it. Because if you handle it with like a turtle, right? Or like an ostrich, or was it a flamingo that sticks their head in the sand, right? I think it's an ostrich. You're starting to build that habit within your body. Like, okay, this is what I want to do each time. Oh, okay. Something happens that demands my attention. Do I want to just, stick my head in the sand? You do it one time. You open up that pathway in your body, in your neurons. Like, that's an option. That's an option. That's an option that I can take. That's an option I've taken. And sooner or later, you do that more than once, you're going to start building up this habit of sticking your head in the sand. And if you were okay with it, what am I going to say, right? But if you have other people, if you have dependents, right? You don't want to let them down, You don't want to let your kids down, man. Because I know I've been let down before by my parents. I've been let down before by people. And, it's one of the biggest betrayals ever. And as a result, I've let others down before. And I hate that feeling of letting others down. And it isn't because they see me negatively. It's because I've let them felt that way. I've let them felt that there's no security with me. And that is a really bad feeling. That is a really bad feeling. That is a really bad feeling. And so I guess today I'm going to keep it short, guys, because I was trying to figure out how to get this new camera to work, how to get my microphone to work, because wouldn't you believe it? When I plug in this new camera, my mic started sounding a little tinny. And I was looking it up, and people were saying, oh, it could be a power supply problem. And I'm like, I have a preamp. People don't know what they're talking about on the internet a lot of times. Like, you have to ask a specific group of people a specific question for them to know. If you ask a general question on the internet, especially Reddit, you'll get the worst answers. And if you try to like defend yourself, or you try to go like, hey, that's not what I'm asking, or I don't think you know what I'm talking about, you will get dogpiled. That's why I hate Reddit. I use Reddit, but I hate Reddit. And I avoid the general Reddits. This video is now starting to take a detour, but Reddit sucks. But guys, I wanted to leave it there. I know this is a shorter video than usual, but I want to keep it on topic. I like the camera, to be honest. I'm starting to like this angle more, so I might film a bit more with this angle. I'm really happy that I got this camera, to be honest, after this video. And I'll see you guys on the next one. That is the October 12, 2024 entry of the Tony Kuviorno. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.